of things where he did that through Amazon Prime Video, right? And it was done intentionally. That was a performance. That wasn't just like, even though it's called the pop out, like,
We're here now. We're here now. And I just want to jump right into the conversations. That's what I do here with my podcast.
let's do it.
When we talk about setbacks, right?
Hmm.
What are some steps that you do to regain your momentum?
Mm. So there's a few things, right? Because I've had a few setbacks. One, I got to figure out what exactly like I want. I think we get so caught up in like the doing, right? That when something messes up, you're like, I don't know what happens. Like, so I got to like ground myself. What do I want? I meditate. Prayer is heavy. You feel me? Walks are heavy. Um, if I have to like disappear for a little bit, I'm repurposing everything that I do. Like I kind of go to like bare minimum kind of vibe. So like where we'll be posting once a day instead of like multiple times, and create all these different things. Like I do a bare minimum. Like I do like a kind of a skeleton schedule, just to regroup. I'm still kind of in a like a regrouping season now. Like uh I'm great. I'm in this journey of YouTube, so I'm great with that. Got a good schedule with that, but my Instagram, I've kind of been on a skeleton because I'm still kind of recovering after the podcast, right? For those who are just listening, I did a podcast for like 182 episodes and it burnt me all the way out. I mean, so still get like I'm getting back to it, but gaining up. So there's a skeleton schedule that I do. There's a learning vibe where I'm trying to learn a new skill. I'm in a writing season now. So there's different things. Learn new skills, chill out, like stop with the grind hustle situation, regroup, talk to God, get my mental right. That's some of the things I do.
I love that. I love that. And you speak about the podcast. Like
Hmm.
myself, podcasting for 7 years, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And making the conversion to come over to YouTube. I know how much of a stress that can be for us as creators. But
Yeah.
I really want to speak to the other creators that we see that follow us and things like that and inspired by our movement. Yo, guys, what's going on? I appreciate you. Thank you. Turn on all bell notifications, subscribe, like, and comment to the podcast. It's the best way to stay up to date. And hey, it helps us gain the clarity and boost ourselves into that algorithm. We appreciate the support each and every day, each and every week. Let's keep on going to keep on growing. Peace. You
Hmm.
speak about that burnout with the 120 episode, 182 episode you said?
Yeah.
that
182.
you've that you've created and things like that. My question to you is, what did that burnout feel like, and how did you really just want to slow down, like the momentum and things like that, to really anchor and believe in your patterns and stuff?
Yeah. Um, for that, it felt more like I have to instead of I want to, right? And I think as creators, we put like these expectations, right? There was a guilt of like, okay, I have to show up with and especially in podcasting. I don't know if many people talk about this, where it's like there's not an end. Like a anybody says you can end at this number of episodes and you've done good. Like you did that. Don't worry about it. If you do anything else, you're super going above and beyond. There's no real number, right? That's like you just know if you can't pass 10, you're trash, right? Like don't even go. But we've seen the tops of the tops with podcasting, uh 4 years, 6 years. Lewis House has he's saying, this is episode 1420. Like, what? That's a lot, right? So not having these expectations of like this is a forever thing when life's and you see that you're growing, and you have to kind of really do an audit on what's really helping you get to the next level, and are you putting the right resources to it? So I was having a lot of conversations with myself of like, one, is this enjoyable anymore, right? um is the is there right systems? I made the mistake of not having the right systems to in that podcast, where I was more of the talent, the researcher, the the producer, the like, I was playing a lot of hats, where for something to succeed from a creator role, media role, you have to have certain systems in place so you don't burn out, right? And I was doing that for about 3 years, 3 years straight in these different multiple hats, figuring out the monetization, figuring out the creative side. So you're playing both creative and business, and it's going to burn you out, right? I'm big, of course. I'm a student of Nipsey Hussle, and he used to talk about how he used to have to engineer and rap, but to change, go back and forth, changes your mind. Like, you can't even get in the correct flow with your creative side because you have to think of the mechanical side, and so it's two different brains. And realizing that I continue to tap into two different brains and not just stay in one, like, it just created an imbalance for me. And instead of, let's say, continuing the push, let's go, this is it just it, it's just a down part, and then you're like, I read this book. Oh, I forgot what it was called. Man, it was like, it was, oh, I think it was
It's
by
all good. It's all good.
Seth. Go, no, I know. I was promoting this book because it like helps so much, and it taught me how to like strategically quit. Right. Um, I think it was by Seth Godin, but and we look at quitting as like a bad thing. And like I said earlier, like, we have this expectation and this guilt. But I was like, once I said, yo, I'm not going to do the podcast no more, so many things started to go. Like, I had like, the second that made that decision, like, three calls came in, like, yo, you want to speak here? You want to do this? You want to do this? And I was like, okay, thank you, God, for like confirming that this was the right time. It was like, so it, it's it's hard to identify at first because you get confused with, you're in your feelings, you get confused with, let's say, the pressure of like staying consistent, you get confused with um just the overall of not knowing when to stop as a creator. But then I had to stop ignoring like myself and how I felt about it. And now the resources and the energy is going towards like my personal YouTube, and that thing is growing way faster than what the podcast was doing at all. Like, it was, the numbers are clear of what's happening, and I'm like, okay, I see. Is there's a period, there's seasons, like any show, anything that we do, like, there's seasons to a situation, and that just season just ended, and now I'm at a new season.
I love that you say that. You're so well spoken. Like, I feel
Thank you.
like the ones that are listening to this, right? I'm gonna say check the YouTube, check your lives and stuff like
Yeah.
that you do, because there's so much teachable information that's there as content creators. You know what I
Thank
mean?
you.
And it goes to my next question about
Hmm.
creativity. How do you maintain the creativity? Right, because it's like there's so many things that we gotta, like, you got AI, you've got
Yeah.
like Instagram, you're up against all these other different conglomerates, but how do you yourself speak to the audience? Like, how do you maintain your creativity?
I'm a consumer, then producer, right? I think people put a bad rap on consuming. It's a matter of balance. It's like how much are you consuming and how much are you producing. I for me, I have to see what's going on because I'm an introvert. So I'm not outside like that. So I'm not getting the experiences to get that type of creativity. I have to get my creativity through books and videos and social media posts and things like that. Right? What is going on? And how can I put my own spin to it? First I have to, and this is for those who are just starting trying to figure out their creativity. You got to really figure out who you are, because if you don't figure out who you are, you could just get caught up in that doom scrolling. So you'll scroll for hours and hours trying to find inspiration, but you won't even know what triggers you if you don't know yourself, right? So I'm in a good place where I know who I am, how I want to appear on social media. So it's a matter of getting the inspiration of what's happening, what are some of the topics, and then how do I put my own spin to it, right? Forcing myself to always show up with, like, I have a live show on my YouTube channel, forcing myself to stay relevant, right? It J. Cole used to do these like 7-minute drills, right? Every single day, he like forced himself, regardless of creativity or not, to always write, always practice his craft, right? For me, I'm like, okay, what is my version of that? And I used to go live on Instagram like Monday through Fridays. That was kind of like my way of like always practicing and things like that. Now I'm on this long form situation, so now I'm moving to YouTube. Now I'm still whatever I consume, am I writing about it? Am I creating a video about it? What am I doing? So it's a matter of the balance of what am I consuming? How am I writing it down? I put it in Notion, right? The things that make me stop scrolling, make me like things like that. I'll go and put it in Notion in inspiration situation, like in a page that is all about inspiration. Then I'll take an idea that I get from it and I'll kind of break it down into multiple ways. Like, what is a story that I can get from it? What is a observation? What is a past versus present? What is a uh, unpopular opinion? What is a myth buster? Like, I'll break down these different ideas because one, I don't, I don't. How do I want to put this? I don't want to take for granted that I will forever have ideas. Tomorrow I may not. And so I want to take that one idea and I want to break it down into so many different ways so I could look at that later and always have something to talk about or have something to create about, So for me, that's how I handle my creativity.
Love that you say that because you speak to two reference points of J.
Hmm.
Cole and Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah.
Studying those two gentlemen, right?
Hmm.
What have you really understood about yourself through them and like their art and what they've
Yeah.
created? Because they're both exceptional, hip hop musicians that really spoke to really overcoming adversity in their own struggles and things like that.
Yeah.
So how did
Yeah.
you make that distinction?
So they're they're similar and different, of course, in so many ways. From a Nipsey Hussle situation, he taught me one. There's several things. There's a lot of things actually,
A
but
lot.
one that really sticks out is your passion, right? Which for him was music, leads to so many other things, right? So the man that we know of as Nipsey Hussle, which is rapper, but like business mogul, real estate mogul, all this stuff has all started from music. He perfected that. He stayed true to that, and then started to truly understand branding and build out a whole brand, right? So I'm learning those different things of like what is the core thing that you love and you'll go back to all the time, and then what are you building that that is sourced by this. Understand that the influence comes from this, and because the influence is so strong over here, I could do a clothing joint, I can do a vector 90, I can go and do community stuff, and people will come because of the influence that I have from the core situation, right? With J. Cole, it is more of the journey of, okay, I did it your way in the beginning, right? Um, and got my commercial success, and now I'm doing it my way, right? Where for the longest, I didn't necessarily do features. I created what I wanted to create. I've stayed low key. I'm not super out in the public, but I'm very highly respected. You know, I'm still probably top tier, even though some will say different now because of some recent situations of the apology. We get it. I understand. However you feel, but uh, but you're still looking at his journey of, I I am who I am, and I'm going to stay who I am, and that's what you're going to get. And I'm going to continue to perfect it however I need to perfect it. You know, so the those are some of the things that really pop out. I could promise you I could do like 7 episodes on just some of the lessons that I've learned from both, but I would say those are probably the top two for me.
Absolutely. Is there ever a song that you go to by any one of them to get you in the mood, to get you into the groove of things?
Um okay, hold on. See that there's several. There's
There's
several.
several.
There's several. So if I go to Nipsey, hold on. Loaded Bases is the very top one for me when
Hmm.
it comes to when it comes to Nip. If I have to pick one, because it always speaks about that there's so many, like literally the baseball. There's a load of bases, and what are you going to do to make it all come back home? Like what is that grand hit that's going to make it all worth it? For me, that hits home. um for J. Cole, it's not necessarily a song that I would go to. It depends on the season. You feel me? Like his albums hit differently with J. Cole. I definitely wasn't the fan of whatever that super artsy one was. Um, but I think for me, let's say like Born Sinner, the album Born Sinner is something I'm listening to in this season, right? Another season would probably be, Forest Hills Drive. You know, um, I love his first album just because it shows I got to do some commercial stuff to be seen, and then I'll slow it down. And I think that's any what I love about like music artists. They truly show what personal branding is,
Facts.
because you look at it of a rapper, anybody of a music artist, they have to go hard in the beginning. So I look at that from a content standpoint. You got to put a bunch of content to see what hits, to see what's going to grab the attention, right? So that's what rappers and hip hop artists, R&B people, they do. They put out a whole guap of things, and then when they know and they got the fan base, then they can start perfecting. They slow it down a little bit because now they're perfecting to make sure that they cater to their fan base. And so I look at that from a personal branding standpoint, from a content standpoint of, we're putting things out there because we don't really know what hits, and we're just seeing what it is. Once we do, now it's about being a sniper. Now it's about, when I come out, is always going to hit. So this is why I like studying what happens a lot in the music scene of how they market themselves, because they are promoting air, literally. Like music is not something you can touch. You are selling an experience, a feeling, where some are selling a product, a service, and figuring out how to sell that with a story, with the marketing methods that they have. It's something like, you should pay attention to.
No, absolutely. And I think that even speaks to like last night with Kendrick
Mm-hmm.
and fans. You
Oh,
know what I mean? You see like how phenomenal that was. Like I'm over here in Toronto, so I got to pick and
listen,
choose my
I'm
wording.
I'm on the East Coast on some like. I, don't get me, if we can have the conversation, we can have the conversation.
Let's have the
That
conversation. We here.
okay, so what Kendrick did, that it's fascinating in multiple levels, right? So one, he united a coast, which was great to see, regardless if you're from uh the West Coast, regardless if you're from LA, Cali, whatever, you felt like you were in the building, and that was something uh that was history, right? You felt the impact of that. Now let me get into my geeky content side of things, where he did that through Amazon Prime Video, right? And it was done intentionally. That was a performance. That wasn't just like, even though it's called the pop out, like that was done with effects. That was done with a screen. That was done with camera angles to show we're not playing around. Like this was done intentionally, so you can feel the production, so you could feel like you were part of it, right? Where at first, when I hear pop out show, like, okay, just a whole bunch of people coming up, they're gonna
like
perform, this is
it's a New
great.
York stage, right?
Yeah. Now this, well, of course, this was a statement kind of being made, as many times he played that song, right? Drake, I just, if you was to listen to anybody, please do not pop out with a picture and a caption for a couple of days. Even though on your stories you did, that's, just stop. Don't, you don't want to come out with a song, or that's it. Like, don't, or come out with an event even higher than that, which he has the ability to. But um when we're breaking down this event from a, like a content and a branding standpoint, he showed that on this amazing day of Juneteenth, we're going to show like what we're about, like what we stand for. Like, don't play with our legends, don't play with our coast, don't play with me. Like, it's just the intentionality that Kendrick did is so crazy. Like, and then if we want to break down from quote unquote a battle standpoint, and I'm talking about from a content wise, Drake is known for the memes. Drake is known for putting out the content that will make fun of other people and have that the conversation. Kendrick did that to him, right? He did the dance, he did the Drake dance, he did the camera angles. He knew what would get memed, what would get caught. He had Dre introduce it. He knew that was going to get clipped. He did certain things intentionally, changed certain words of the songs intentionally, because he knew people would react to it, people would clip it up. This would be something that is going to be posted for the next couple of days, and that's something that a Drake camp would do. And he just used it all against it. When you understand the power of media and understand that if you can make people react through amazement, through a shock value, through a funny value, like, you win the hearts of the people. And that's what Kendrick did, not just from a, because if you break down the full performance, he's just walking around. I mean, like,
True.
he did
Yep.
come out with dancers, like 2 dancers, right? Which is wild. I was like, where did these 2 people come from? But came out with 2 dancers, but it was boom. Oh, first off, let me show you who's in the crowd. That LeBron shot was intentional. You know what I mean? Like, let me show you LeBron is here because LeBron used to chill with you. Okay. Let me show you LeBron's here. Let me show you the Weeknd's here. Let me show you Westbrook is here. Let me show you all the people. Let me bring them up on stage. Everything he did from let's do a concert. Let's do a concert on Juneteenth because, sir, you can never do a concert on Juneteenth. To let's bring all these sets, let's bring all these people together you can never do, and let's document it. I think it was very genius from a Kendrick side, from the media and content side wise, that I don't know if he's going to get enough praise for.
And it's wild that you say that because it's the same thing we're talking about here about content and overcoming adversity and building your brand. I feel like this is the most energy and the most lights that Kendrick will see until maybe, I don't know, because it's like you got to look at like he needed the alpha in Drake to simply sit here to skyrocket his brand and really position him to where it needs to be. You know what I mean? So it's like, I was saying to a friend yesterday, I was like, what's his next move going to be? Because it's like, is it an album? Is it a tour? What are you looking to do?
He said he was done. He said he was done.
I don't know if that can be done though. You got to drop something. Something got to be coming behind this.
I don't know. He said he was done his last album. And then this beef happened. So I'll be curious to see what happens. I'm for it. Kendrick got me.
I think so.
I like what Kendrick is doing. I'm a huge Drake fan, but Kendrick won that, and so
He did.
Yeah,
I got to say it on record now. He did.
Yeah, Kendrick won that. Like Drake tried to go into the bars, and we can't knock Family Matters is fire, but you can't be a guy of different media tactics and don't jump into that, because what Kendrick did was made a bop. Drake was supposed to make a bop. He didn't. Kendrick made a bop. Kendrick came back quickly, right? After the initial one, came back to back. Took a minute, but then came back to back. He got people talking, right? I feel like the first one, you still have to dissect it like 6 months later. He did too many metaphors and entendres and it's wild, right?
Exactly.
But I think to put the nail in the coffin was Not Like Us because of the beat, because of the collaboration with Mustard. I think everything he did was very tactical to play with Drake's tactics, and Drake just tried to rap, and I was like, why would you? We're expecting the memes, we're expecting the visuals, we're expecting I expected Drake to have an event, but he followed the blueprint. Kendrick followed the blueprint, studied the blueprint, and created in his own way, to where even from the standpoint of streamers who were reacting to the song, if you reacted to a Drake song, you couldn't make no money from it. It would get copyright, that whole nine. Kendrick was smart and was like, nah, let them react, because that brings brand awareness, but that brings streams. He understood where things are when it comes to influencers, when it comes to content creators, when it comes to this media side of things, and he won.
Facts. I feel like when we talk about content now, you speak to it a lot of AI. And I get into conversations with, not too many content creators, but I really want to niche into the content creator side. They're scared of this AI. They're scared of what it can do. You know what I mean? We see Apple now going to have the ability to record, calls when the new iOS comes out and things like that. For you,
Hmm.
how do you feel like AI can help impact us as creators even more beyond what you speak about and things like that?
Yeah, it's here to get rid of some of the tasks that we don't want to do, right? It's not necessarily here to replace us, because the things that are out, and I'll say not replace us right now, right? Because I don't know what's going to happen in 5 months, year, whatever. Um, but right now, if we look at, as a content creator, the tools that are out there that are supposedly here to clone us, things like that, it's just not there yet. But what it's great at is helping us get the foundation of our copywriting, of our captions, of our script writing. It's able to give us a foundation for some of the graphics that we may need, right? With some of our favorite apps, right? Canva. Canva's starting to add AI tools that just make things just super easy. And I don't have to go to Photoshop maybe as I used to, because they're adding everything from a drag and drop situation or a circle and it replaces. And that's where we have to look at things, where things are going to start get easier. And some will fight like, this is going to make people dumb, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not about being the smartest, it's about being the most resourceful.
Mm.
It's like, you don't get a medal, more money for saying, "Hey, I'm super smart." It's like, can you get the job done? How did you get the job done? And do you kind of have an understanding of how that happened? That's all people care about. That's really all it is. So when we're looking at AI and we're looking at all these tools, it's like, what is going to help me get my time back? What is going to help me get rid of the tasks that I don't want to do? I'm not a fan of writing captions, so help me write that. I'm not a fan of writing emails, help me do that. I'm not a fan of full-blown script writing, help me get the foundation of certain things, and then we could talk about it. I can now get the foundation of a thumbnail of what I may want on it and give it to a graphic designer, instead of, hey, I don't know what I want. Here you go. And they create crap, and now it's wasting time going back and forth when I can just give them a reference and being like, here you go. That it's great from a one person team type standpoint, because you don't have to pay for the small tasks anymore. And then it's great from a creative standpoint for those who do client work, because now your clients can be able to communicate with you easier with what they want.
So true. And that's the thing. Like, you got to think about with YouTube and like podcasting and creating your titles, you need, like, there's only so much the brain can really like think of. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's like,
Yeah.
how am I going to create this title that it's going to make people want to click? It's going to make
Yep.
people want to view, what I mean? And things like that. And I think that when it first came out, AI was introduced over here, was a lot of the students in university or college are writing their whole entire essays and their scripts and then
Hmm.
getting zeros because you're basically not putting your own original ideas into the mix to then
Absolutely.
source it and then maybe reword things. You can't just copy and paste and say, "Hey, listen, we're here." You know what I
That's a
mean?
fact.
Can't do
That's a
that.
fact.
Hmm. So for you now, AI's here.
Yep.
You got the podcast. You're doing all the content creation.
Hmm.
What is next for Nicky? Speak to what you wanting to do to leave the legacy to end 2024. Even though we're like what? We're like 6 months away from
Yeah.
2024. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it is. I'm in a journey of making sure people get it and feel comfortable and feel authentic with what they do, right? So I realize, and I think I'm gonna be transparent about certain things when it comes to, because I have a community deeper than the brand, right? When it comes to the community, I'm going to be very intentional with transformation than necessarily just a guap of information and togetherness, right? I think there was a season when it comes to online community, bringing people together and let's figure it all out. And I have the people. Now I'm in a season of, okay, let's take these people and create true transformation. Let's make sure that they understand the AI tools and they're using the AI tools in the way that they need to, right? Let's get people to feel comfortable being on social media as their own self, right? My whole thing is making sure people feel seen, heard, and accepted, and them showing up on social media as themselves, feeling accepted now, feeling seen, and making sure that because they do that, they are getting other people to feel seen, heard, and accepted, right? I live by this code of like Lions behavior, like just showing up, not necessarily um, loud, but like quietly confident, showing up boldly with the creativity, right? And having my community move in that kind of way when now we're getting into AI. Now that I don't know how I stand out with all these AI tools, no, you still show up in this kind of way, just allowing to leverage AI, allowing um, social media to be leveraged, these free platforms, regardless of what the algorithm does, you're still showing up as yourself. So I think in this ending in 2024, you're probably going to see me be more intentional with the transformation that I help people with. Um, the of course I'm going full blown long form videos with YouTube and growing that out, and then being intentional with maybe figuring out in person experiences, right?
You
What
know,
does that
totally,
look like for
totally.
an introverted content creator?
I
Um,
love that you say that. Love that you
yeah,
say
it's
that.
like how does
Mhm.
that look like, and how do you make it feel inviting for other introverts who don't want to come out, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with 2024, and probably a little bit later, because that what I said may take another year or two to really fully happen, but that's the intentions.
From your expert expertise, two more
Mhm.
questions before we get out of here.
Go.
Is Do you feel like the pivot now is how I don't even like using that word, but it's just there. The pivot now is more long form instead of short form? Because I feel like at first it was short form. Now it's
Yeah,
like we're going back to the long form content.
I think it depends on the journey you're in, right? There is a still strong need for short form, because I look at it like it's the appetizer. It is the what's going to introduce people to you and your brand and the brand awareness. But for people to become loyal fans, for those people to have that loyal fan base, that following, you have to give them something more. Because think about it, every single day you're only showing up 30 seconds, 90 seconds. Like, how could one know you for that? So it's a journey. So you could start short form and then go into long form, right? Some people may feel cool with, I'm going to start with long form. Then you just chop up some of the stuff for the short form. Both are still very needed. To have the full scope of things, you're going to need short, you're going to need long form, you're going to need written, you're going to need audio, like you're going to need all types of content formats for the full scope of your brand. But I wouldn't necessarily say there's a shift happening. I think in you probably see that because you're in that phase of like, okay, I've done it. Now the people that I follow are in this long form standpoint, are in the TikTok starting to go long form. Facebook is starting to be a thing again with long form. The only one who really hasn't converted to long form is Instagram, right? The creators are still uh getting noticed and seen and making money on YouTube. So it seems as if like, yo, why don't I not just do long form? It just depends on the journey. But I will say everybody should go to long form eventually because of the longevity. Like YouTube is the only platform that if I say, how do I make ice cream with pistachios, that videos from 10 years can still pop up. And I could be introduced to a brand that I wouldn't have found on Instagram, on TikTok, or anything like that. So yeah,
Well
I'm
said.
with the long
Well
form.
said. Well said. Jeez, well said. I always do a thing with the show before we close it up. It's called 1% Better.
Okay.
Speak from your perspective. How do we become 1% better?
I think it's really just continuing to show up with doing one thing different. So where well, I'll say it like this. One thing different and one thing the same. Meaning you still have to have a routine, and for some of us routine sounds very daunting, and like especially from a creative standpoint, don't make me do something every single day. That's just wild, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there has to be something that stays foundational for you, but then there has to be growth as well. So for me, having a routine of always going outside first thing in the morning, right? Praise God, I have a dog that makes me do that, right? But I also go for like 4 mile walks, 3 4 mile walks, pray, meditation, and then I have this thing called learn and document. Anything that I'm watching, listening to, I try to write it down as much as I can. I got to get really better with that, but I've done well. I've done so. When what's great about it is like when you are saying I want to do this and you make steps to it, it's still better than you not doing it at all, right? So that's like my routine, and there's always a level of execution that I'm trying to do every single day, right? That's the trying something new vibe. Trying to so what is the foundation? What are you doing the same? But then what are you doing for your growth every single day? If you could, even if you're not every single day person, what every single week, that still allows you to become 1% better in that kind of context. So that's just my answer with that.
Mm. It's well said. It's well said.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you. I
Of
appreciate
course.
everything you stand for. I appreciate the brand, right? This is
Thank
your
you.
opportunity. Plug all your information, plug your brand, YouTube, all that good
Yay.
stuff.
So at This Is Nicky's, that's Nicky with an S at the end, on all platforms, but I'm telling you, I'm mainly on YouTube, Instagram, and Threads. So 3 places you could probably find me. I know I gotta do better on LinkedIn and all that great stuff. I don't care. Those are my 3 main stuff that you can find me. And then any of my programs like the AI toolkit, and the community is going to be at deeperthanthebrand.com.
Definitely.
But yeah,
Definitely.
it's gonna be vibe.
Yeah. And I'm going to take a look at that deeper in the brand a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Come
See
on,
what essentials I can
come
definitely
on,
pick up
come
from that.
join into the toolkit. My thing with that now is I'm setting it up to where the AI toolkit has a whole bunch of AI tools and how to use it from a creative standpoint. But what's also going to be connected to it is a 14-day like challenge of how to turn your idea into content. So not only do you have the tools, now you have to see, okay, cool. I got an idea. Now I'm going to go to ChatGPT. I'm going to go from ChatGPT. Now I'm going to create a faceless video. Now I'm going to create the script. Now I'm going, so like before it was just like, here's the tools. Now it's here's the system and here's more tools to do it. So that's why I said, like, I'm in this whole, we're going to create transformation. So if there's
Do it.
one place to look at the AI toolkit, is going to be a vibe. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm definitely going to have to check it out. And everybody that's listening or watching, check it out also, too. I appreciate you, Nicky.
No problem.